Hello, my name is Joe, and welcome to my channel, Joe's Book and Movie Corner. Today I have an announcement video. This is really the first real announcement video that I'm doing as a co-host to a booktube event. And it is, of course, Haggard January 2026, a booktube event designed to bring H. Rider Haggard to a little bit more prominence. For an adventure writer, there are some other ones out there that I think we remember a little bit better. Arthur Conan Doyle, Edgar Rice Burroughs. H. Rider Haggard, maybe not so much. I mean, I didn't hear about him until I joined BookTube. But I had heard of, Edgar Rice Burroughs and Conan Doyle. But yeah, it's a BookTube event created by Randy Ray, the literate Texan, where you simply read works by H. Rider Haggard. There are prompts, which I will talk about, but all you have to do to participate in this event is just read one book by Rider Haggard. He's an adventure writer. The two big novels he's known for are King Solomon's Mines and She. Both of those novels have sequels. They even have a crossover novel. And for me, I'm just, spoiler alert, King Solomon's Mines is probably the one that I'm going to be reading this month. And it's because I've never read a single work by H. Rider Haggard. So if you've never read one of his books, that's probably the one you want to start with. So yeah, I'm totally new to H. Rider Haggard. But I do have an interest, and this is kind of a relatively recent interest. I have an interest in adventure fiction. And if you've been keeping up to date with all my videos, which you should be doing, I have a budding series called My SF Odyssey, where I look at works of science fiction. And I kind of jump around from the different decades. But earlier science fiction owes a lot to even earlier adventure fiction. So any kind of pulp fiction, the further back you go, it gets less science fiction, more just adventure fiction. Pulp science fiction stories are science fiction, fantasy, horror, and adventure all mixed together. So I think we can find a through line all the way back to possibly H. Rider Haggard. So what are the prompts? Now, I'm not big on doing prompts. I'm going to try my best to do these. We'll see how it goes as the reading event goes on. But again, all you have to do is just read one book by H. Rider Haggard. But if you do like prompts, there are 4 of them. And the first one is classic Haggard. Just read a classic Haggard African adventure novel. So the aforementioned King Solomon's Mines or She are perfect for that. And as I mentioned, I will be reading King Solomon's Mines. And if I breeze through it, I may read She as well. I would like to read that at some point soon. Maybe I'll read it for this BookTube event. There should be a group read that we're doing for King Solomon's Mines. Also, I think it's undecided, but there's going to be most likely a second group read in the latter half of the month. I don't think we've decided what we're going to read for that. Depending on how busy my reading is, I'm definitely reading King Solomon's Mines. We'll see. I'll see what the second one is. Number 2, Haggard playing different genres. So you read a book, an H. Rider Haggard novel, where he's not writing an adventure novel. And I was looking through, I asked my good friend Chad, who lives online, and he knows a lot about a lot. It's ChatGPT. I asked Chad, what are some non-adventure stories by H. Rider Haggard? And the 2 that piqued my interest are Mr. Meeson's Will from 1888. It's described as a satire about publishing, inheritance, and legal absurdities. That sounds ridiculous. That sounds totally out of left field. So that piqued my interest. And the story is about a marooned man's will, which is tattooed on the back of a woman. That just sounds so bizarre. I might choose that one. Another one that did pique my interest was Stella Fregelius. I think I'm saying that right. Fregelius. Stella Fregelius from 1904. And it's about an inventor, and I think she's trying to speak to a dead woman that he was in love with. And it's kind of got a science fiction angle to it, where he's an inventor and he invents this device that's supposed to speak to the dead. So a little bit of science fiction, a little bit of fantasy. But I don't know. I mean, it does involve spiritualism and spirits. Does it have horror elements? I don't know. But both those two, Mr. Meeson's Will and Stella Fregelius, piqued my interest a little bit. Number 3, read a work by another author that was inspired by H. Rider Haggard. Now, I'm going to take this as you can pick an author that at some point in their career was inspired by Haggard. Some of these books, one of them in particular, the work itself is not necessarily inspired by Haggard. So here's 3 that I might get to. I mean, again, I'm not going to get to all these 3. It's just one of these 3. The first one is The Poison Belt by Arthur Conan Doyle. Now, if you know anything about The Poison Belt, it's a Professor Challenger novel. It's a sequel to The Lost World. Now, The Lost World, it's in the title. It's a Lost World adventure novel. It absolutely would count for this. And if you haven't read The Lost World, I would recommend that for your week 3 prompt. But I've already read it, so I want to read the sequel, The Poison Belt. And the story itself, I don't know too much about it, but I know it takes place just in a single room. And it stars Professor Challenger, and I think it has a science fiction angle to it. So it's not an adventure novel, but Arthur Conan Doyle was inspired by Haggard. So I'm going to count this, and I've been meaning to read The Poison Belt. Another novel, and this is also a sequel. I'm going to mention Edgar Rice Burroughs here. Now, Edgar Rice Burroughs, the natural choice would be a Tarzan novel. I've never read Tarzan of the Apes. Maybe it's that one. But actually, I want to continue on with the Barsoom series. I've read A Princess of Mars. That's the only Barsoom novel I've read. So I would just continue on with The Gods of Mars by Edgar Rice Burroughs. That one... Tarzan might be the closer choice to Haggard, but this is, John Carter of Mars books are adventure stories. So yeah, I think that definitely counts. Probably fits better than The Poison Belt by Conan Doyle. And lastly, not a Lost World story, but it is an adventure novel. The Ship of Ishtar by Abraham Merritt. Recently, I've read Abraham Merritt's first 2 novels, The Moon Pool, and then very recently I read The Metal Monster. And I'm fascinated by Abraham Merritt. I like Conan Doyle and Edgar Rice Burroughs better, but there's something about Abraham Merritt. Even though I find him frustrating, he writes purple prose. He's very wordy. It's hard to know what he's talking about sometimes. He's way too descriptive. Despite all that, I'm fascinated by him, and he has an amazing imagination. And so I want to continue on with his books at some point. And I want to read The Ship of Ishtar. And I think that would count too. It's not about a lost world, but it is an adventure story. So maybe for week 3, I'll read that one. And then the last one, read any kind of nonfiction related to Haggard's life, including biographies. Now for this one I'm leaving open. I don't have anything selected. There is a recent biography that was just published. So the recent biography that just came out is called The Buried Man: A Life of H. Rider Haggard by Stephen Cohen, and it came out in March 2025. And I'm probably not going to read this one. A couple of reasons. One, I think it's almost 700 pages, so it's pretty long. For week 4, I'm probably going to be needing something a bit shorter. Also, it's really, really expensive. I mean, on Amazon, it's shockingly expensive for the hardback. Even the ebook is just, it's crazy for an ebook. Way too much money. More money than I would be willing to spend. So if I were to read a biography, there's a few floating out there. I think, I don't have anything selected here, so I may order something. I may temporarily put a pause on my book buying ban. I am participating in the Read What You Own challenge. And so far, I have been successful with physical books. I haven't been successful with ebooks, but I kind of knew that going in. Anyway, so I might read a biography. H. Rider Haggard, he also wrote nonfiction books. He wrote some like travelogue books and a book that talked about the Boer War. He also wrote, it was published posthumously, but he wrote his own autobiography. If you have the Delphi Classics omnibus of all of his works, it includes that, but it starts out in the introduction to the autobiography. It's like, it's not very good. So it didn't really inspire a lot of confidence. So I don't know if I'm going to read that. And to be perfectly honest, I mean, I'm not huge on prompts. I'm going to do my best since I am a co-host. But if there's one prompt that goes, this is going to be the first one that drops. Really, because it's week 4. You know, my other books may just bleed over into week 4. We'll see. So I'm going to leave that one open. We'll see. I may find something interesting. And Roy from Roy Reads Anything on his channel, he mentioned, I think it was I don't know if it was a book or an article, but something. He mentioned a history of adventure writers and adventure stories in Victorian England, and something like that might actually be interesting. So I'm going to keep my ears open to see if maybe there's something out there that would fit this. Maybe a short history of adventure fiction. If I found something like that, that might be kind of interesting. So I don't know, but anyway. So that's Haggard January 2026. I will be making more videos once we get into January, and I will give updates on what I'm reading. And hopefully, we can get those group reads together because group reads are a lot of fun. So if you're interested in a group read, look at Randy Ray's channel. There should be an announcement. And like I said, if there's something big on the group read front, I will also probably make an announcement. But that is all for now. Thank you.